Okay, everybody, let's go ahead and get going. Thank you again for joining me for 12 Steps to Growing Your Business Fast using Google AdWords. I appreciate you taking some time out of your busy schedule to join me. And if you give me just about 45 minutes of your time or so, I hope to give you some good tips on how you can use AdWords at your business. Before we jump into the content, just a couple of logistics things to cover here real quick. One, I will be recording this presentation and I will send you a replay. So you can sit back and relax. You don't have to take real intense notes. You'll have a copy of it if you want to review it again later. Next, and most important, there's a question box below the presentation that you see there. And you can use that box to ask me any questions that you may have. You just got to type them in there and submit them to me, and I would be happy to answer any questions that you have at the end of the presentation. So please just go ahead and chat in there, and I'll do my best to get to all of them. Okay, so let's go ahead and get going here. 12 steps to growing your business fast using AdWords. First, before we jump into those 12 steps, I'd just like to start with just a few words about pay-per-click marketing. So first of all, pay-per-click marketing, what is it? PPC, it stands for pay-per-click, and it's a real targeted advertising method that allows you to target people in the search engines based on what they are searching for and only pay if you get a click on that ad. So that's why it's pay-per-click. And this form of advertising is found in Yahoo, in their search marketing, in Microsoft Ad Center, as well as, and most famously, in Google's AdWords system. This is an example of some pay-per-click ads in Google. So you can see here the search was for Portland flowers, and you can see it's circled in the blue on the top there and also on the right. Those are pay-per-click ads that are being shown by Google that somebody paid to have show there. And then in the areas that are not circled there, here down kind of on the lower left, these are called organic results. So those are the results that Google shows based on your search that they believe are most relevant to the search that you put into the search engine, and those cannot be paid to show up there, and they cannot be modified based on paid advertising. So again, these are the pay-per-click ads over here as well as down here. Some interesting pay-per-click stats I just thought I'd share with you. This is pretty amazing. I mean, in 2011, Google's revenue topped $37.9 billion. It's just an amazing number for a company that, geez, I believe is less than 15 years old now, or right around there. $37.9 billion, 96% of which came from advertising, and the far majority of which came from this pay-per-click advertising that we're talking about today. Here's some interesting information about some companies that you've probably heard of here: State Farm, Amazon, Lowe's, and University of Phoenix. Each spent over $43 million on PPC in 2011. And in terms of industries and what they're paying per click, pretty interesting to see finance and insurance industries pay the most per click, topping out at $43 per click for those industry keywords. And what's amazing is that it's actually worth it to them, right? It seems like an awful lot of money to get just for somebody clicking on your ad with no guarantee of any sort of result after they do, but it is actually worth it for them. And that's why you see so many of them doing it and spending so much money there. So, PPC really is a massive business now, especially considering it's something that didn't even exist just over 10 years ago. So why is it so great? Well, from an advertiser's perspective, you're now getting your ads to appear near very relevant search results in those search engines. You are showing your ad to somebody that has searched for something very specifically, related to the ad and the offer that you're placing. So you've got a very good idea that you're showing your ad to the right person at the right time, which makes it very powerful. The other thing that makes it so powerful is that you only pay when someone actually clicks on that ad, right? As opposed to other types of advertising, you're paying to get your ad out there regardless of whether they click or not. With pay-per-click ads, you're actually only paying when someone clicks. So, very attractive way of advertising. And then finally, businesses make an average of $2 in revenue for every dollar they spend on pay-per-click. So that's 100% return. That, of course, is from the Google Economic Impact Report, so we take it with a little bit of a grain of salt. But obviously, businesses are seeing a positive ROI, which is why they continue to pour so much money into pay-per-click. So that's stats about pay-per-click, but what about, AdWords specifically? Why Google AdWords versus other pay-per-click opportunities? Well, AdWords, really I think is awesome for a number of reasons, and awesome for small businesses in particular for a number of reasons. One is that it really does level the playing field. I mean, Google gets so much of the search engine traffic out there in the marketplace, right? They're by far and away the dominant search engine. Well, you may have a very hard time competing in those organic results with some of your big competitors that might have much bigger brand recognition and advertising budgets. But you can pay to advertise in Google and have your ad show up on the first page of Google, even if you're not in those organic listings. So you have an opportunity now to compete side by side with the biggest players in your industry. You can get massive reach due to the size of Google, and you can play with a relatively small budget. I mean, compared to other forms of advertising, running an ad on TV or in radio or a newspaper, where you can spend a lot of money very quickly and maybe not even have a chance to advertise at all unless you're willing to come up with tens of thousands of dollars. On Google AdWords, you can start playing with just $100 and get your ad showing and start getting results immediately. So it really is awesome for small businesses and really does a lot to level the playing field. So how does AdWords work? It's really quite simple. I mean, step number one, you create these ads and put in your bids, what you're willing to pay per click. Your ads will appear based on the specific keyword searches in Google that you've decided to target. Number three, the searchers that click are taken to a page of your choice. And number four, you get charged. That's just a simplification there of the system, but that's generally how it works. I mean, it's nice and simple and pretty easy to understand. So now let's jump into the 12 steps to growing your business fast using AdWords. All right. Number one, let's just start with a high level here, how to use AdWords successfully. First, you want to be strategic. While it is an amazing advertising medium and you can get started with very little money, it's an incredibly competitive environment, and you can also burn through a lot of money very quickly. So you definitely want to be strategic in your approach. I suggest that you go deep and not wide. And what I mean by that is there's millions of keywords out there that you could potentially target, and there may be hundreds and hundreds in your particular niche that you could target. But what I've found is most successful for most small businesses is to find the words that are most relevant and target those and go really deep on those. Try and get really, really good at creating ads that work for those keywords rather than trying to spread your resources too thin. Offer value. Give a reason for somebody to click on your ads, okay? The more value that you can provide to somebody immediately, the more likely they are to actually click through on those ads. Measure everything and adjust. I mean, one of the most amazing things about online advertising is all of the data that you can get immediately about what's working and what's not. You need to use that data to make sure that you're cutting your losses on ineffective ads and putting your budget into the ads that are getting the results you're looking for. And then last, I would say play by the rules. Okay, Google has very specific rules about what they like you to do and not do when it comes to advertising on their platform. And if you don't play within those rules, you can get what's known as a Google slap or a Google ban, and have a really hard time advertising on their network. So what I mean by their rules, Google has this thing called quality score, and that's how they determine how your ad is kind of performing in their network in terms of an overall experience for the actual user of Google. So the actual searcher in Google, Google's entire objective is to make sure that the people that are searching in Google find what they're looking for. And that doesn't just go for the organic results, it goes for the ads as well. So they are looking at your ads and they're measuring all these different factors: the click-through rate, the landing page relevancy, the historical performance of your campaigns, the actual ad relevancy, the keyword relevancy. They have ways of measuring all of these things. And the more relevant your ads are and the more effective your ads are, the more likely Google is to show your ads, and also the less that they're going to charge you for those ads. So they reward you for playing within their rules. So you should really take some time to understand Google Quality Score and how all of these different factors impact your performance and how you can design your campaigns and your ads to fit within the Google Quality Score guidelines. All right, so let's get here. Number 1 of the 12. One, have a clear goal for your advertising. Okay, are you trying to sell a product with the ad? Or maybe you're just trying to generate a new lead or a newsletter sign up at your business, or maybe you're just trying to create brand awareness. Whatever it is, you need to be clear about your objective, because the specific advertising strategies and tactics that you use will change based on what that goal is. So make sure you have a clear goal for your advertisements. Number 2, research your competition. Okay? One of the great things, again, about advertising online is that there's tons and tons of data about what's working and what's not, and everything that your competitor is doing is very visible. It's up there for you to see. So research your competition. Find out, what are they advertising? What seems to be working for them? And, honestly, and a lot of times to get started, you'll pretty much copy what they're doing, right? If you see that somebody is successful and is running campaigns, spending lots of money on those campaigns, and you see those campaigns over and over again, it's because they're working. So sometimes you don't want to reinvent the wheel, right? You want to, pretty closely mimic what they're doing, and then think about, okay, what are the subtle differences that I can do to differentiate my ads from the competition to make them stand out? All right, but really, really important to research your competition and understand what they're doing and what's working as you're developing your own campaign strategy. Number 3, do keyword research. Okay, being successful with pay-per-click marketing in the search engines is all about targeting your ads to the right people. And the way you find the right people is by the keyword phrases that they are searching with in the search engines. So you've got to do keyword research to really understand what people are looking for when they search. And, in every industry, in every niche, there's a certain language that people use to search for products. And you've got to understand that language and what that language means to that particular searcher. You've got to kind of get inside of their head to understand, what it is that they're looking for, so that you can make sure that your ads and your offers are most relevant to them. And then find out where the competition is as well, right? By doing that keyword research, you're going to see where your competitors are spending their time, their money, and their resources. And again, there's a reason why, right? If you see people spending that money, it's because something is working. And that's where, more than likely, you're going to want to invest some of your time and energy, if not on those exact keyword phrases, something very similar. So let me just show you an example of doing some keyword research. I mean, if you're not familiar really with the keyword research tools that are out there, this is inside of Google, and it's just showing you some of the keyword terms related to cars here, right? So did a search for cars. And you can see there's cars, used cars, cheap cars, cars for sale, buy cars, used cars for sale, cheap used cars, car rental, car rentals, rent a car, all of these phrases that are related to cars. And it tells you how much, right here, your estimated average cost per click is, so how much you're going to pay per click. And you can see how it varies. I mean, up here, used cars for sale is $1.81. Cheap used cars, $1.59, all the way to car insurance at $14.82 per click. So obviously you can tell that, car insurance is very, very competitive, which shouldn't surprise you. You hear all the Geico ads and State Farm ads running on the radio every day. Those companies make a tremendous amount of money, and they're willing to spend a lot of it to get new insurance customers. Here you can see the advertiser competition. All of these green solid bars means that it's very competitive. If you were to see like half a green bar and half a white bar, you would know it was less competitive. These are all solid green, which means they're all very competitive. Here's average search volume for the month of in this case, June. Look at the search volumes here: 55,600,000 searches for new cars. Pretty incredible. And then you can see trends over here, right? Is the volume going up or going down? You can see rental cars. Look at the search volume going down here. It's pretty interesting to see those trends. So this keyword research, and this is just one very simplified example. The keyword research tools that are out there can actually give you a lot of data and insight about these keyword phrases. So doing your research and understanding options really pays off. Next, number 4 here, choose your destination, right? Once somebody clicks on your ad, you get to decide where you're going to send them. You really want to make sure that wherever you send them, it's very consistent with the message that you presented in the ad. Okay, if I search for car insurance, then you should take me to a page that's about car insurance, not to a page that's about rental cars, right? There would be a disconnect there. And that may seem pretty obvious because I'm using a pretty dramatic example, but so many times advertisers send people to pages that are really just not effective. They're not in alignment with the message of the ad, and they're not designed for any sort of conversion to happen, right? I mean, once you've paid for somebody to get there, you want to design that page so that the visitor takes the next step, right? They buy something from you, or they subscribe to that newsletter, or they pick up the phone and call you. Whatever it is, you want to design that page for conversion. So choose your destination carefully and plan that strategically. Here's a good example. This is an example of an ad, obviously from a Canadian debt consolidation offer. So I can assure you that this was targeted specifically to Canadian searchers based on geographic targeting and on certain debt-related terms. And you can see that this page is all about getting somebody to fill out this form and get a free quote. Pretty hard to miss, right? So, typically you want to be as direct as this with your pages that you're taking people to. Now, I will say that Google has a lot of specific rules about this and about what they allow you to do on these pages. And Google has an approval process where when you start new ads, they will have a person manually review the ad and the page that it's going to. So it really pays to understand Google's rules so that you can be clear about what kinds of landing pages you can use, because they do have rules about the destinations that you're sending people to. Obviously, again, for the protection of that Google searcher experience, right? They don't want you to place an ad for, as a very dramatic example, some Disney ad, and then when somebody clicks on it, you take them to an adult site. Okay, obviously, it would create a horrible experience for Google users and get people into all kinds of trouble. So Google does their best to protect that experience, and they'll want to make sure that the page that you're sending them to is relevant, that it provides value, and that you're not in any way deceiving their searchers and creating a bad experience. All right, number 5, create an ad that will convert. Again, it's all about getting people to take action and getting people to click on your ads and then convert on that next page. So the first step is getting people to click on that ad. So find successful competitors' ads, and again, I really suggest you in a lot of ways copy what they're doing. You will eventually obviously have to differentiate either the page that you're taking them to or the actual ad itself to be competitive and get the click-through that you're looking for. But I always suggest that you start with what's working. Don't try and reinvent the wheel. Find a successful competitor and find what they're doing and mimic it. I'm excited to show you this ad. It's from a locksmith in Denver, and you can see this ad is all about getting somebody to click on it. They're appealing to all kinds of things, right? $15 price tag. It's obviously a low price they're hoping to hook somebody in with. They put it right at the beginning of their ad. 24/7 to let you know that they're available anytime. They put the phone number right in the ad, so you don't even have to click on this ad. You could just dial the phone number and save them some money. Certified Locksmith, they use some features that you can use in Google advertising here in your site map on your site to have these relevant terms show up in the ad: 24/7 emergency, residential, automotive, commercial. So this is a smart ad that's taking advantage of a lot of specific tactics to get somebody to actually click and take action. Number 6, add a local feel to your ads. A lot of you are advertising specifically to customers in your local market. Well, making your ads feel local can add a lot of value and can get can create a ton of additional ROI in your campaigns. And some of the things I've seen work very successfully are, using localisms in your ads. So using a phrase like "wicked smart" in Boston, kind of mimicking that ad in ads for Boston. Using a local phone number is really, really important. In certain industries, people really want to feel like they're doing business with a local company. So using that local phone number can make a big difference. And displaying your address, right? If you have a local business, again, that you're really targeting those local customers, can really benefit to show your address so that people know that you're close by, that they can get to your store quickly, and that you are truly a local company. So again, just to show you another example here, here's another one from Denver. Auto repair. Denver's top-rated auto repair shops. They've mentioned Denver twice there in the title. And then you can see that they've displayed their actual address there with a link there to click for directions. They've got their local phone number, 720 area code, local to Denver there. So they've done all kinds of things to demonstrate that this is a local ad specifically for people there in Denver. Number 7, bid for a smart ad position. Okay, and what I mean by that is that pay-per-click ads show up from kind of top to bottom in the search engine, and the top ad would be position number 1, and the bottom ad, would be, say, position number 7, depending on how many ads there are on that page. So you would think, well, I always want to be, top there at number 1. Well, you will certainly get the most clicks if you're number 1, but being first may not be the best, and the reason why is that you can get a lot of junk clicks by being in those top positions. So, higher positions are going to cost you more because you're going to get more clicks, but they may not actually result in a better ROI. In my experience, I found that somewhere in position 3 or 4 is usually optimal, and preference for 3. Number 4, you can sometimes not get shown as much. I found that right around position 3 is pretty optimal. So just to show you what I mean here again. Some pay-per-click ads there on the top here and on the right. So this would be position number 1, number 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So again, I found that being somewhere around here is actually most successful. All right, number 8, go deep, not wide. I mentioned this as a best practice at the beginning of the presentation. I really recommend that instead of trying to advertise for all kinds of different keyword phrases all over the place, that you find a few keyword phrases that get the best results and then focus. I found that in every industry, for every type of product or service, there are a handful of keywords that seem to really get the best results in terms of ROI. And, it pays to really focus on those and try to be the king of the hill for those keywords, right? By doing so, you can really get to understand what works for those keywords, and that can give you a competitive edge in the marketplace. And it also just saves you time managing your campaigns, right? If you're only trying to manage ads against a handful of keyword phrases instead of dozens or hundreds or some people even thousands, it can just take away a lot of the time and headache of managing those campaigns. So I really suggest you go deep and not wide. Number 9, measure your results. I can't stress this enough. The beauty of online marketing is that everything can be measured. So, use Google Analytics on all your pages. Fantastic piece of advice that some people just don't even know really exists is you can use call tracking numbers. So you can see which ads are generating phone calls to your business, and people in most local businesses, the phone is really where you get new customers, right? You have a much better chance of converting them to a customer if they call you versus filling out a form on your website. So those phone numbers and being able to track which ads are getting the best result by having a unique phone number for those ads can really help you analyze which ads are most effective. You can also connect these ads to your sales process, depending on what CRM system you're using. Hopefully you have a CRM system, but many of them will allow you to connect the actual advertising that you're doing straight through to the CRM process so that you can actually track which ads actually get you sales at the end of your sales process. So that can give you a very clear way of tracking that ROI and identifying which campaigns are working most effectively for you. But again, everything can be tracked online. You should take advantage of the analytics packages out there to make sure that you are tracking everything that's happening. Number 10, focus on ROI, not PPC costs. What I mean by that is that, depending on what industry you're in, you could have to pay as much as $135 or $250 to generate an actual lead for your business in AdWords. That's a lot of money. But if you focus on the ROI, you can determine, is that too much money or not? Because some of you may just look at it and go, "Whoa, geez, that's obviously way too much money." But if it turns out that in your business, 1 out of 10 turns into $100,000 in business, well, then that's not bad. That's why people are willing to spend so much in certain industries to get a lead. I mean, we showed you those numbers before from the financial and insurance, businesses spending, $45 per click or more. Well, they're doing that because they know that an average customer to them is probably worth tens of thousands of dollars over the lifetime of that customer, and sometimes much more than that. And so they're willing to invest those dollars to get those types of customers. So focus on ROI. Don't be penny wise and pound foolish. Make sure that you are, make sure that you truly understand what a customer is worth, so that you are willing to make an appropriate investment in getting them. Because if you're not, and your competitor is, you're putting yourself obviously at a real disadvantage. All right, number 11, try remarketing. This is a technology and a capability inside of AdWords as well as other platforms that is really, really, really slick. A little bit hard to explain just in a webinar like this, but the easiest way I can describe it is that it allows you to follow your target audience around the web. So what I mean by that is if somebody comes and visits your site, you can set up a campaign using Google AdWords that says, okay, once they've left my site and they're off visiting other major sites, so CNN or ESPN or whatever sites that they may go to, still continue to show them my ads on those sites, right? So you can literally follow people around the web wherever they go. Your ads continue to appear. Now, this does a couple of things. One, it gives you reinforcement, ad reinforcement, right? Because people are statistically not likely to buy the first time they see your products or services. But if you keep hitting them with impressions over and over again over time, then they're obviously more likely to eventually come back and buy from you. So you're able to follow them around and show them more about your company and your products and your services. Super, super powerful way of doing that. The other really powerful thing that this does for you is this can associate your brand with the major sites that they're out there visiting. So, to see your little business advertising on a major site like CNN or ESPN or something like that, your brand gets a lot of credibility just by being associated with those other sites. I mean, people think, wow, if they're advertising on these major sites, they must be doing pretty well. So there can be kind of a halo effect that your brand can experience by advertising on those major sites. And the cool thing is you're not actually advertising on those major sites in terms of having any sort of direct advertising relationship there. It's Google is actually negotiating those deals and placing those ads automatically for you. So this is a great way of keeping your brand top of mind, and it can really dramatically improve the ROI of your advertising campaigns. So I'm just going to show you an example here of what I mean. So here's this, backcountry.com. So backcountry.com sells like skis and snowboards and, camping gear and stuff like that. It's not a very big company. And here you are, here they are with an ad on cbssports.com. Well, that's because, at one point it had gone to the backcountry site, and they used this remarketing technology to then make sure that they showed me ads while I went about my day and surfing around on other sites. So that's an example of remarketing, and you can see, it's these very visual ads, so you can create, some really attractive ads that you can show people in your remarketing campaign. So very, very cool technology, and definitely suggest that you try it. Now, tip number 12 here, always split test. Always split test. Okay, this to me is the real power of online marketing, is that you can very quickly test in your campaigns to see which kind of ads are most effective. John Wanamaker famously said that, half of my advertising is wasted. I just don't know which half. Right? And it's true. If you were, if you're using traditional advertising like in print or television or radio, you may not have the ability to really clearly see which ads are working most effectively for you. Well, in online marketing, you can very easily test different kinds of ads to find out what's working. So always split test, which means always run one ad versus another with differences in those ads to see which strategies and tactics work best. And this allows you to constantly improve your ads and, invest your dollars in the ones that are being most successful. So, I suggest that you test the most important factors first. So like in Google AdWords, the most important factor is going to be the headline, right? The headline is the first thing that people see, and it's what determines are they going to keep on reading and paying attention to your ad. So start with that headline and then move down from there, all right? And then stop when you stop seeing gains of, 10% or more, right? Once you're getting down into those small incremental gains, you probably can be focused on other things and get better bang for your buck. But I guarantee you, if you split test some ads, you'll see massive improvements. You'll see, one ad that will do 25, 50, 100% better than another ad, and that's where you can get some real benefits from your split testing. So always split test. All right, so those are my 12 strategies for growing your business fast using Google AdWords. I'll share with you just a few more tips and tricks here. One, create a test budget. Like I said, you should be testing everything. Split test ads, testing different bidding strategies, and testing different keyword strategies. So I suggest that you just set aside a little test bucket, in terms of budget and in terms of just separate campaigns where you can just try some different things. The power, again, of online advertising is being able to measure everything and seeing results quickly. So I really suggest that you give yourself the opportunity to just play around with some different things to learn from it. Next, don't go down the rabbit hole. It can be easy to just lose entire days inside of Google AdWords. I mean, there's so much information in there. There's so many little levers that you can pull. Unless you are, really focused on becoming a Google AdWords expert and, spending just lots of money in there, you've got to be disciplined about not wasting too much time in there, right? Don't try and get too much, don't try and get too clever with your campaigns. Just focus on fundamentals. Narrow your focus to those handful of most productive keywords. Always just do simple split tests. and then for the most part, kind of set it and forget it, right? Let your campaigns run for a week or two, and then go back and check on them and make some adjustments. But don't be in there, for 5 hours every day, playing with your ads. It's generally kind of unproductive at that point. And then just in general, for the most part, not always, but for the most part, with Google AdWords advertising, you don't want to take your the people who click on your ads directly to some sort of hard sale, right? Find it's best if you work to try and add some value, maybe offer them some intriguing information, some sort of freebie, to give them a reason to kind of opt in or give you a call. And then get the opportunity, earn the opportunity to sell them at a later time. That is much more in line with what Google wants you to do with their searchers. And it's, just generally a better experience with your brand for the people that are clicking on your ads. So again, don't take them right to a hard sale. Don't club them over the head with a hard offer. There's generally an opportunity to do something that adds more value first and creates a better longer-term relationship with that person who clicked on your ads. All right, so we covered a lot of ground there. I hope that helps you, and I can certainly understand if perhaps you're overwhelmed. If you are, I would encourage you to reach out and get in touch with us. We'd be happy to help you either optimize any of your existing campaigns that you are running inside of Google today that you may not be, satisfied with the results on, or if you just want to get started with Google AdWords and you'd like somebody to help you so that you're not having to do all the management and you're not experiencing a steep learning curve when you can otherwise, invest your time in other places, we'd be happy to take on, we can do that full campaign management for you. So either way, like I said, if you think that there's an opportunity that we might be able to help you, we'd certainly look forward to that conversation and see if there's a good fit. So let's go ahead and move on to some questions here. Got a handful of them that came in. First one asks, what's a good click-through rate? Somebody's asking, what's a good click-through rate for my ads? That depends on exactly, what keywords you're targeting, how competitive your market is and stuff. But I like to see somewhere between 2 and 5% for my click-through rate. So that's just it's a rough ballpark. But if you're not within that range, certainly if you're lower than that range, you may want to look at some things that test some things that you could do differently. If you're above that range, then you're probably doing really well. Let's see here. Another question. Somebody says, I've been looking into doing some Facebook advertising. How does AdWords compare to Facebook advertising? That's a great question. They are quite different. Facebook advertising is more what they call display advertising, where you're trying to distract somebody into looking at your ads, right? When I'm in Facebook, I'm not there to look at ads. I'm there to engage in conversation with my friends and things like that. So your ad has to kind of distract me and draw my attention over to look at it. Versus in Google, people are actually specifically searching for something, and oftentimes your ad is the most relevant thing for their search. So they're actually consciously looking for something, and you're showing your ads when they're looking. So they both have their advantages and disadvantages, and they're just different. So I would suggest that you could certainly be doing both for your business, and they're both very, very effective ways of advertising. Let's see here. So somebody says, I have a low click-through rate. I'm not in that 2 to 5% range. What should I do? That's a great question. So first, I would start with just, are there any advertising or any improvements that you can make to the advertisement itself? So do you have a clear call to action? Are you showing a phone number? Do you have a strong headline? Are you using those local optimization factors? Those types of things really, make a difference in your ads. I mean, they really start to incrementally bump up your click-through rate. So, take a look at your ads and make sure that you're really putting your best foot forward in terms of an attractive ad. If that doesn't do it for you, then I think, the most important thing to look at from there is the keywords that you're targeting, and how precise you are being in your keyword targeting. There's a lot of just kind of strategy and technique around keyword research and keyword targeting. So that would be the next place that I would look. And then, finally, it could be just related to bidding strategy. I mean, are you making sure that your ads that you're actually offering to pay enough per click to get your ads showing in, those top handful of spots where they're actually going to get visibility? Because if they're too low in the results there, then they're just not even going to be seen. So hopefully, I know it's hard to get real specific without looking at your exact campaigns, but that's generally the path that I would kind of follow. I would look at my ad, see what I could do to improve it, then I'd look at my keywords, see what I could do to get more targeted there, and then finally look at my bidding strategies and make sure I'm doing what makes sense there. So I hope that's helpful for you. Okay, we're right at about 45 minutes, which is where I told you I would land here today. So I don't want to take you too long. I know that you have a lot to do, and I appreciate your time and attention. I hope that you found this helpful. And again, if you'd like to contact us to discuss anything further about your AdWords campaign opportunities, we would love the opportunity to chat with you. And our contact information is right here on this page, our phone number there, and so please don't hesitate to get in touch. We'd love to hear from you. Okay, thanks again for your time. I really appreciate it, and have a great day. We'll see you next time.